Yahoo ni babaláwo. Ó lè lẹ́ everybody. Ẹni lẹ mọ́ bá ṣáà ní gbàyàwó. Mọ́ bá ṣáà ní gbàyàwó. Ó tẹ̀sẹ̀ lébò. Yahoo ni babaláwo. Ó lè lẹ́ everybody. Ẹni lẹ mọ́ bá ṣáà ní gbàyàwó. Ó fẹ́ ṣe kà fún mi. Mi ò lógún mo ní Kúránì. Mo lè ṣàdúrà mi. Bí ṣe ṣàdúrà mi, Allah ń gbàdúrà mi. Àti lọ àti dé. Lẹ́yìn orí yọ ó dilé. Ẹni bá lọ ló bá dé. Ìgbà tí ń padà dé ṣe ló dé mi ládé. Kádé kó pẹ́ lórí. Bí bàtà kó pẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀. Sọ́wọ́n dá mi kan lẹ́sẹ̀. Táwọn méjèèjì já ìkan kan lẹ́sẹ̀. Inside life. Ló ti rí fáfá life. Inside life. Ló ti rí deeper life. Inside life. Àwọn kan jẹ́ ìyà, àwọn kan chop life. Inside life. Àwọn kan ṣe gbé, àwọn kan jẹ́ wà. Josopi. Kirikiri Josopi. Ikọ̀ ìpèsè Josopi. Nínú sẹ́ẹ̀lì NCC, wọ́n Josopi. Tó bá níyàwó lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ Josopi. Sopi. Bọ̀dá yìí Josopi. Sopi. Abẹ́yìn náà Sopi. Sínú fẹ́lá Josopi. Sopi. Má lọ lo homo tó bá lọ Sopi. Ṣòdowó mọ̀. Ó wá sọ pé ò mọ̀ náírà. Ó wúwo lọ́wọ́. Ìwọ ṣàṣẹ sí náírà. Ajá fẹ́ dènà dẹ́kun. Kékeré ẹkùn máa ṣẹgbẹ́ ajá. Wọ́n bẹ́ẹ̀ ni má fọ̀ àwọn náà fẹ́ wàhálà. I just want make mama proud. They want to make mama proud. Mama gonna cry no more. Tẹ́ bá sunkún kan ẹ sẹ̀kún ayọ̀. Banjo kẹ́ báyọ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi já sáyọ̀. Inside life. Do what I want cause it's my life. Inside life. Ló ti rí fáfá life. Inside life. Ló ti rí deeper life. Inside life. Àwọn kan jẹ́ ìyà, àwọn kan chop life. Inside life. Àwọn kan ṣe gbé, àwọn kan jẹ́ wà. Josopi. Kirikiri Josopi. Ikọ̀ ìpèsè Josopi. Nínú sẹ́ẹ̀lì NCC, wọ́n Josopi. Tó bá níyàwó lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ Josopi. Sopi. Bọ̀dá yìí Josopi. Sopi. Abẹ́yìn náà Sopi. Sínú fẹ́lá Josopi. Sopi. Má lọ lo homo tó bá lọ Sopi.
Spirit Mix.
Hola.
Tienen un problema con el discurso del guanquil, ¿vale? Entonces, mejor que le des paso a María Eugenia antes que a él, porque tienen que hacérselo más grande.
Vale. Sí, buen día. Buenos días. Bonjour, good morning. Buongiorno, sabah el khair. Un plaer un any més donar-vos la benvinguda des de Barcelona, la ciutat mediterrània més important i referència de l'economia regional. Soyez bienvenus ici à Barcelone. Pour nous, c'est la référence économique de la région Méditerranée. أهلا بكم في برشلونة وفي هذا الأسبوع المتوسطي. Good morning, everybody, and en primer lugar, permitirme dar una cálida bienvenida a las autoridades que nos acompañan hoy, al presidente de ASCAME, el presidente de la Cámara de Barcelona, la teniente de alcalde del Ayuntamiento de Barcelona, el presidente de la Asociación Internacional de Hoteles, el secretario general de la Asociación de Banca Islámica e Instituciones Financieras Global, el señor Florenza, presidente del IMED, y las otras autoridades. Y sobre todo, gracias a todas las personas e instituciones que nos acompañan, tanto a nivel presencial como online. MedaWeek, un año más, nos lleva en este viaje por el Mediterráneo, a través de sus economías, oportunidades, retos, reflexiones y desafíos. Quiero, sobre todo, empezar esta edición de MedaWeek con un especial sentido recuerdo a todas las víctimas civiles por los recientes terremotos e inundaciones que han asolado nuestra región. Me refiero a Turquía, a Marruecos, a Libia, a Grecia y, por supuesto, a las víctimas de las guerras que siguen activas en algunos países del Mediterráneo. Nuestro pésame y solidaridad con sus familiares. No podemos ni debemos hacer la vista gorda ante el horror que vemos continuamente y que nos afecta a todos. Me gustaría hacer hincapié en que la organización de esta cumbre del Mediterráneo, esta cumbre socioeconómica, es ya una referencia anual de nuestra región y también a nivel global. Es un verdadero también desafío y un gran ejemplo de sinergias entre organizaciones distintas y de trabajo en equipo de diferentes sectores, lo que constata una vez más la capacidad y la predisposición de todos los agentes e instituciones de la región para explorar nuevas vías de cooperación público-privada. Somos conscientes que la celebración de esta edición, que ya es la número 17 años de MedaWeek Barcelona, representa una apuesta arriesgada por el desarrollo económico en tiempos complejos y de cambios profundos en la región. Representa en cierta medida el triunfo de la esperanza sobre la incertidumbre y la indiferencia, el triunfo de las ideas y las iniciativas de desarrollo sobre la violencia, la construcción de puentes sobre los muros de incomprensión. Nuestro Mediterráneo se ha convertido en una frontera. En sus orillas han establecido nuevos jugadores, Rusia, China. El proyecto de asociación euro-mediterráneo se tambalea. El efecto corrosivo de las diferentes crisis obliga a arbitrar y a gestionar los temores a corto plazo. En este contexto, no queremos posicionarnos únicamente del lado de quien mira en el Mediterráneo solo desde la prisma de crisis, política, económica, violencia o inmigración, pero tampoco queremos ignorar las dificultades que siguen existiendo en la zona. Estamos del lado de quien piensa que nuestros océanos tienen futuro, que un cambio de paradigma basado en la sostenibilidad es posible, que nuestra diversidad es riqueza. No olvidemos que durante más de 3.000 años los habitantes del Mediterráneo, los pueblos del Mediterráneo, han compartido el aceite de oliva, el vino, el sol y el mar. Hoy tenemos la oportunidad de seguir estableciendo sinergias y compartir ideas e iniciativas que fomenten la innovación, la sostenibilidad, el desarrollo económico en cualquier sector de cualquier país de la región. No podemos cambiar la geografía ni el pasado, pero sí podemos cambiar el capítulo que estamos escribiendo en el presente, impulsar un nuevo amanecer para el Mediterráneo. Necesitamos abrir nuevas rutas de ideas y conocimiento entre Oriente y Occidente, crear nuevas oportunidades, asociaciones, alianzas, a pesar de las amenazas actuales y futuras. Tenemos que aprovechar la creatividad del potencial de nuestros jóvenes y mujeres. Invertir en ellos significa también esto, invertir en el futuro. Significa implementar soluciones sostenibles e integrales, repensar nuestro sistema alimentario, aprender a manejar las crisis y no dejarnos manejar por las crisis. Que nuestro Mediterráneo siga atrayendo millones de turistas, pero también para que deje de ser cementerio para inmigrantes que busquen una vida mejor. Hoy más que nunca necesitamos encontrar nuevas formas de abordar juntos los problemas que acontecen en nuestra región, convirtiendo estos retos en grandes oportunidades para un Mediterráneo más próspero, sostenible y unido. Un buen punto de partida sería romper con los viejos enfoques, construir nuevas relaciones entre las dos orillas de nuestro mar común. Ha llegado el momento de apostar por un nuevo marco de cooperación, un nuevo espacio común de carácter innovador que permita crear un nexo de unión entre Europa y el Mediterráneo, de fortalecer todavía más las relaciones entre ambas partes, de construir todos juntos a crear un Mediterráneo global y competitivo, a posicionar nuestra región como eje global de desarrollo y crecimiento asociado a Europa, pero sin olvidar sus raíces en África. Un Mediterráneo integrado sin fronteras ni perjuicios, para que el futuro no dependa de la geopolítica global, donde el desarrollo económico de la región impacte en una mayor calidad de vida de los habitantes de sus pueblos y de sus ciudades. En definitiva, un Mediterráneo que vuelva a ser, como antes, un orgullo para todo el mundo. Gracias por vuestra participación y para la inauguración ya oficial del foro doy la palabra al señor Josep Santacreu, presidente de la Cámara de Comercio de Barcelona.
Bon día, buenos días, good morning, bonjour. Bueno, gracias Anwar por tus palabras, excelencias, autoridades. No voy a repetir todas las que has citado, pero sí que voy a hacer alguna referencia especial, pues yo creo a tres personas que agradecemos especialmente que estén aquí. El primero a Mr. Ahmed El Wakil, President of ASCAME. Thank you, Mr. President, to come here, and this is your house, as you know. También a la señora y amiga María Eugenia Gay, la segunda teniente de alcalde de la ciudad de Barcelona. Gracias, Eugenia, por acompañarnos. Y al señor Senem Florença, que és el president executiu d'AIMED. Senyores i senyors, permeteu-me agrair-vos a tots la presència avui aquí i que ens acompanyeu en aquest important esdeveniment d'abast internacional. As President of the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce, it's a pleasure to welcome you to this Mediterranean house. and inaugurate this 17th edition. I think it's important. 17th edition is not something we have to forget. I think it's important. No? And this edition, of course, is the edition of economic leaders. Over the history, the Mediterranean area has attracted special interest from the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Navigation. From the old days of the sea consulates right up to the present time, the Chamber has always been at the forefront of the development of initiatives aimed at building bridges and opportunities. MedaWeek Barcelona is a platform that promotes investment and is committed to economic integration, innovation, digital transformation, and sustainability. Barcelona, as always, maintains its competitiveness as a Mediterranean and an international economic center, with the city's open business environment and rule of law, well-established infrastructure system, and international talent pool. La région méditerranéenne est plongée dans de multiples défis: développement économique, changement climatique, durabilité, gestion du tourisme, démographie, jeunesse, inclusion des femmes, chômage, urbanisation, démocratie. Mais malgré tout, nous sommes condamnés à réussir. Le rôle du secteur privé dans la construction du bâtiment méditerranéen est essentiel. Et son implication devient de plus en plus nécessaire malgré cette période complexe, probablement on peut dire très complexe. Mais la région méditerranéenne, bien située, très bien placée au point où les continents d'Asie, d'Europe et d'Afrique sont très proches, les uns des autres, cette plateforme stratégique est unique pour faciliter le commerce et la logistique dans le monde entier. Mais cela nécessite davantage d'intégration, de développement et d'interconnexion. C'est ce que nous faisons aujourd'hui ici. Le destin de l'Europe et de l'Afrique sont liés, bien liés, et le Méditerranée est l'espace naturel de cet axe. Mais il ne faut pas oublier que ces dernières années, Anwar l'a dit bien sûr, il y a de nouveaux acteurs comme la Chine, la Russie, et on a vu qu'ils ont un plan de faire des spectaculaires progrès dans la région, en Afrique et dans les régions voisines à l'Europe. The total merchandise trade of the 22 Mediterranean countries amounts some of around 5 billion euros, with an aggregate GDP exceeding 1,100 billion again of euros. The overall foreign trade is really important. In these countries represents almost 45% of the GDP and investments between the different countries. The diversity of our region should be a great stimulus for growth and integration, but a new vision will be essential to formalize these great opportunities. The Mediterranean ambition to become one of the leaders and to remake our common sea again, so that it once again becomes the hub of the world. Barcelona and this economic week facilitates this bet. We have to overcome the difficulties and current risks to face the challenges. We must break fears to understand each other and draw a common future for the next generations. We must have the courage to look at this wonderful mirror that the Mediterranean Sea has always been for humanity, and look beyond the difference to join forces and synergies to face together the three challenges of the region. Je vous souhaite encore une fois un agréable séjour à Barcelone et une pleine réussite dans votre travail. Thank you very much for your attention. Merci bien.
Gracias, presidente. Bienvenido a este primer acto tuyo de MedaWeek. Vamos a pedir permiso al presidente de ASCAME porque la señora María Eugenia Gay tiene una reunión urgente, entonces vamos a dar la palabra a la segunda teniente de alcalde del Ayuntamiento de Barcelona, la señora María Eugenia Gay.
Muchas gracias. Muy buenos días, presidente de ASCAME, presidente de la Cámara de Comercio, coordinador, querido amigo Senen Florensa, queridos amigos y amigas y autoridades. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas a la ciudad de Barcelona. Realmente vamos a celebrar y vais a celebrar un evento, el MedaWeek, que se celebra con orgullo y emoción, que profundiza en los temas críticos y emocionantes que afectan a la región mediterránea y su papel en la economía global. Este evento es una oportunidad única para conectar todos los ámbitos de los sectores económicos clave con los valores culturales de esta región: la igualdad, la solidaridad, el pluralismo y la justicia. Unos valores que hoy, más que nunca, debemos reivindicar con toda la fuerza y alzar nuestra voz para hacerlos más visibles que nunca. Para Barcelona, la MedaWeek tiene un valor crucial para promover la región mediterránea a nivel mundial y apoyar a los sectores económicos más importantes, impulsando además esta preciosa ciudad de Barcelona, que espero que disfrutéis, como plataforma para expresar los intereses locales en el desarrollo socioeconómico de los países mediterráneos. En este sentido, Barcelona ha impulsado este año la estrategia euromediterránea, ejemplo de la relevancia que tiene para la ciudad el futuro de la región mediterránea, cuya capitalidad queremos ejercer no solo en el ámbito político, sino también económico, social y cultural. Así que nos tenéis a vuestro lado para seguir batallando. Actualmente, como decía también el coordinador, el Mediterráneo afronta grandes desafíos. Conflictos bélicos, tenemos que lamentar tantísimas muertes de civiles que todavía nos dejan devastado nuestro mundo. Afrontamos el cambio climático, precisamente un cambio climático que está ocasionando también grandes dramas como los que vivimos en Marruecos, en Turquía, terremotos, también pues, solidarizándonos con las víctimas que han sufrido por estos, efectos naturales que produce la climatología, el drama humanitario de quienes se ven obligados a migrar. Estas jornadas del Mediterráneo, tantas y tantas muertes dramáticas en las aguas de nuestro mar y que tenemos todavía un problema de inmigración tan importante que afrontar, como Europa también debe liderar este cambio, pero con los países del Mediterráneo solidarizados, empujando, siendo capaces de crear sinergias para afrontar este gran reto como es el de las miles y miles de muertes que tenemos cada día en el Mediterráneo. La acogida de personas refugiadas, algo que pudimos coordinar de una manera excelente con la crisis de Ucrania, que realmente hubiera supuesto una crisis humanitaria terrible, el tener que acoger miles y miles de refugiados en tierras europeas, y pudimos coordinarlo de la mano de Europa para que pudieran también tener una vida digna y que pudieran precisamente ponerse al primer nivel el respeto a su vida y a su dignidad, como reclamaba la Declaración Universal de los Derechos Humanos, que vamos a conmemorar su 75 aniversario el próximo 10 de diciembre. Tenemos también otro reto, el crecimiento de extremismos violentos, la escasez de agua, la desigualdad todavía y la discriminación hacia las mujeres. También una lacra que tenemos que combatir, esta violencia que persiste pese a los avances que hemos ido realizando en los últimos años en favor de la igualdad para combatir la violencia contra las mujeres. Son estos también desafíos urbanos y aquí precisamente entendemos que las ciudades debemos tener, especialmente las mediterráneas, un papel importantísimo y nos lo tenemos que creer. Tenemos que abanderar estos cambios, estas reivindicaciones, precisamente para que podamos cambiar la situación. Las ciudades son el escenario en el que articular y poner en marcha una agenda positiva en el Mediterráneo para afrontar estos retos. Y para lograrlo, las ciudades tenemos que ser conscientes que somos las protagonistas y poner en valor el papel de la relación con las administraciones, demostrando que precisamente somos sus aliadas fundamentales. Y precisamente lo hacemos en un marco internacional de consenso muy favorable, como es el de la Agenda 2030, aprobada por todos los Estados del Mediterráneo, y nos ofrece un paraguas común bajo el cual impulsar iniciativas de desarrollo, diálogo y soluciones multilaterales. Una agenda diseñada para combatir la pobreza y, sobre todo, consolidar la paz, esta paz tan anhelada que todavía no llegamos a visibilizar. Desde Barcelona no recorremos este camino en solitario. Trabajamos para promover y consolidar la cooperación entre ciudades y el trabajo en red como una vía para el progreso. Compartimos espacios de reflexión y colaboración con otras ciudades y con todos los actores comprometidos con el Mediterráneo para encontrar soluciones conjuntas a problemas globales. Y se trata, en definitiva, de aprovechar ecosistemas de actores con clara vocación euromediterránea, como ASCAME, IMED, la Unión por la Mediterránea, MedCities, con tantas instituciones hoy aquí representadas que queremos poner en valor esta lucha que hoy estamos abanderando. Y precisamente queremos reivindicar también Barcelona como capitalidad de la Euromediterránea y nos estamos impulsando con la presidencia española de la Unión Europea. En un contexto de gran complejidad, nuestra ciudad acogerá actos de importancia capital, como son la reunión de alcaldes euromediterráneos en el Ayuntamiento de la ciudad, precisamente el próximo 25 de noviembre, y la reunión de ministros de Exteriores de todos los países de la Unión por el Mediterráneo el 27 de noviembre. Este encuentro de estos 2 días nos va a servir, sin duda, para poder extraer unas conclusiones que trasladaremos oportunamente en las próximas reuniones de alcaldes y de ministros de Exteriores, porque sin duda que la diplomacia es el camino para encontrar las soluciones a estos retos y problemas globales. Sin duda, el MedaWeek va a aportar un valor fundamental y así lo vamos a trasladar a nivel internacional. Durante estos días, los participantes tienen la oportunidad de establecer conexiones empresariales y abrir las puertas de sus organizaciones a los últimos proyectos regionales. Vais a abordar, sin duda, unos temas que nos preocupan a todos, como son la transformación digital, la cohesión social y territorial, la igualdad de género y la transición ecológica. Unos problemas que están en la agenda de todos los países para poder afrontar y ser capaces de dar respuesta a todos los retos que tenemos por delante. No puedo más que animaros realmente a estos días a hacer unos debates interesantes, enriquecedores, que nos ayuden, sin duda, a encontrar estas soluciones para dar respuesta a estos problemas que estamos teniendo y que estamos poniendo encima de la mesa. Gracias por vuestra asistencia. Presidente, gracias nuevamente por haberos convertido en un referente en la ciudad de Barcelona con la organización de este seminario que año tras año se ha ido consolidando y que para los ciudadanos y ciudadanas de Barcelona supone realmente un posicionamiento y un empuje que nos anima a seguir trabajando de manera incansable. Gracias.
Gracias, teniente alcalde del Ayuntamiento de Barcelona. Sin lugar a duda, la ciudad de Barcelona tiene un papel muy importante que hacer en esos momentos claves de nuestra región y esperamos que ejerza este papel de puente entre ambas orillas y de plataforma, escenario para dar soluciones a los problemas. El próximo en intervenir será el presidente de ASCAME, señor Ahmad el-Wakil.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, I would like to congratulate the new board of Barcelona Chamber of Commerce and the President, Mr. Joseph, and I wish for them the best for the Barcelona Chamber and for the ASCAME. As President of ASCAME, it is a pleasure to welcome you and to thank you for your participation in this annual meeting of the Mediterranean economy and to inaugurate this 17th edition of the Mediterranean Week of Economic Leaders. MedaWeek Barcelona once again commits to Mediterranean economic integration. The region is no longer just an opportunity for European companies, but a necessity. We want to highlight the need to commit to a more inclusive Mediterranean policy in which youth, women, mobility, energy, and academic exchange are discussed. The future of Europe will be played out in the south. The destiny of Europe and Africa is linked, and the Mediterranean is the natural space of this axis. A new axis for the future with more than 1,800,000,000 inhabitants. The objective pursued by ASCAME through MedaWeek is to promote major agreements that facilitate rapprochement between the different nations that border the Mediterranean, while consolidating the sea as an economic space capable of developing the entrepreneurial spirit of a region that has the necessary capacity to expand its GDP 30% in the next 10 years, and in which Europe can find alternatives to consolidate its economic future in a situation of increasing economic complexity. We are entering a new phase of trade and geopolitics in fragmented world. To counter this situation and protectionism, more collaboration, strengthened multilateralism, and alliance are needed. You should also think about building resilience in supply chain as a long-term investment. Government and business must collaborate to invest in new infrastructure, smart systems, climate technologies, education, and training. This will not only boost resilience, but also enable inclusive and sustainable growth. Failure to act now could have political, economic, or climate impact, especially in emerging Mediterranean countries. As Mediterranean countries seek to chart a path forward following the multiple crises that have disrupted their economies, accelerating regional integration becomes more critical than ever. Increased trade flows, two-way investment and mobility in the countries of the north, south, and east of the Mediterranean would be the main drivers of a sustainable recovery. And while there are multiple challenges to solve to follow this agenda, in a global competitive environment, the Mediterranean faces multiple challenges related mainly to its positioning as a region. A roadmap is needed that links long-term projects capable of ensuring economic development and operational plans that follow their efficient and timely implementation. The change is paradigm, trends, and the new configuration of global geopolitics today imply a remodeling of relations between the Mediterranean and Europe, long characterized by a donor-beneficiary relationship working in equal terms. This will foster better cooperation that will lead to the strengthening of more inclusive economies and greater social well-being in both regions. In addition, the digital revolution and the green and blue economy and lessons from the pandemic could be taken advantage of to develop new approaches and open new horizons. Chamber of Commerce and private sector plays a fundamental role in the diversification and transformation of Mediterranean economies. Countries in the region should further value Mediterranean SMEs, drivers of diversification by facilitating their access to affordable food and financial services, which will contribute to the creation of wealth and added value for sustainable development, and even the region and the well-being of its population, including its youth. The destinies of Europe and Africa are linked, and the Mediterranean is the natural space of this new axis of the future. Cooperation is key to driving the necessary change that ensures future resilience, sustainability, and prosperity for all communities around the Mediterranean region. Thank you, and my best wishes and regards.
Thank you, President Loakil. Sin duda, el Mediterráneo necesita revolución, pero una revolución digital, verde y azul, y que el futuro de Europa está en el sur, y sobre todo que el Mediterráneo juegue ese papel entre África y Europa. El próximo a intervenir es el señor Senén Florensa, el presidente ejecutivo del IMED, Instituto Europeo del Mediterráneo.
Bé, senyor president de la Cambra de Comerç de Barcelona, senyor secretari d'Afers Exteriors de la Unió Europea, del govern, dear president of ASCAME, autoritats, amics, permetin-me que comenci per felicitar el president de la Cambra per la seva recent elecció i, a més, amb un èmfasi una mica especial en aquesta casa i en aquest saló, que avui és el que ocupa la gent de llotja, quan abans, a l'època dels nostres dos pares, es trobaven a baix, a la planta baixa, al gran saló gòtic i que ens porta, jo imagino que tots dos, tants records d'aquelles altres èpoques. So it is a pleasure to be with you again in the 17th edition of ASCAME and the MedaWeek in Barcelona, organized by ASCAME. We've been accompanying ASCAME and the Chamber of Commerce of Barcelona in this long endeavor all along these years because we believed and we continue to believe in what we would call the ideals of the Mediterranean, which is to overcome the difficulties, the problems that we face, to bring about the best possibilities of our countries and to overcome the special difficulties that we are facing these days. We believe in the traditional values that we have always upheld as what we used to call the Barcelona process since '95. This is to build around the Mediterranean an area of peace and stability, an area of shared economic progress, and an area of intercultural dialogue and understanding among the peoples and cultures around the Mediterranean. And we see that we have gone through incredible hardships, I would even say, and challenges. I would say especially since 2001, when the attacks in the Twin Towers in New York and the consequences of that, and the errors that were committed at that moment with sequences of wars and disasters that came over the Mediterranean area since farther west in the east, with the wars in Afghanistan and then Iraq, and then even in Syria later on in Libya. And we are running now the same dangers of an overreaction that brings about a new era of successive disasters. Even the US President Biden was warning of that, the overreaction to the terrorist attack of Hamas against Israel could bring about a new cycle of violence that would last for many years. And this is a danger that we have to avoid through preaching these same values that we were upholding since '95 of having peace and stability in the Mediterranean through shared economic progress and cultural and social understanding among the different peoples and cultures around the Mediterranean. And from the economic point of view, but not only because it's an important issue, it's what we try to do in the MedaWeek here in Barcelona every year. It is a gathering of people who used to gather in this same house for now about 6 centuries, as it is now, this same hall and the hall downstairs, to make better the lives of their citizen fellows through the economic activity, promoting progress and understanding among peoples. People gathered here to organize economic life, not only of Barcelona, but across the Mediterranean. It was known that this was one of the centers for inter-Mediterranean international trade. And even though at that period the port was not as nice as it is now, even it almost didn't exist as such. But the merchants had already this same house to promote the same things that we are trying to promote now. And they had success. You can see the city that you can visit now. You can see the accomplishments of these entrepreneurs that have built most of the reality that we know, especially in this city of Barcelona. This is why I really have to say that it is something especially interesting, the MedaWeek, that's promoted by the Chamber of Commerce of Barcelona and by the Association of Chambers of Commerce of the Mediterranean. I was referring to these dangers and that we have to overcome because of an overreaction to a terrorist attack. It happened after 2001, it may happen now. But of course, it's not the only reality that exists around the Mediterranean. And all the predecessors from this stage made reference to that, and I cannot but make some reference to that too, because it is the essence of these gatherings, and it is the essence of what is promoted by the Union for the Mediterranean, whose Secretary General in charge of important areas is always with us, and Mr. Kirani will convey the message of the Union for the Mediterranean to this gathering. And we have to accompany the transformation that we need in the Mediterranean area, because we have these new challenges that were referred to, the environmental challenges, with all the disasters that we have seen. And we know that there is a man-made reason for that, climate change, etc. And we have to bring about, therefore, this transformation in terms of the digital transformation to make more modern, more efficient our economic sectors, our energy transition to overcome the traditional fuels from hydrocarbons, and to bring about the modernization of our economies, our societies, and even, I would say, our way of lives in our cities. This year, we have again a new edition of the MedaWeek, and we have a full array of issues that will be dealt with in these following days. I think they are all of them pertinent, and what we have to try is to bring them, as we are trying to do here, to the policy area, to bring about new economic policies, new social policies at the regional level in the Mediterranean, fostering the relations between the European Union and the people and the peoples south and east of the Mediterranean, and bearing in mind, even though, that there is no solution if we do not bring a solution to the whole of Africa, not only North Africa and the Mediterranean, because all these problems we are facing, many of them have a common root in the whole of the African continent. And we have to enlarge the scope of the policies in different ways, maybe. We have to incorporate peoples and countries in the northern rim of the African continent facing the Mediterranean. In fact, as it is done with the European neighborhood policy to the whole Euro-Mediterranean market and the internal market of the European Union, and to have a new association in the same way as we had built with the people and countries around the Mediterranean with the rest of Africa, because it's only through the association of their main economic partner, which is the European Union, that these countries can find their way to progress and make life better for peoples in the whole of the continent. Otherwise, there is no possibility for Europe to have a survival of its own welfare state as we have conceived it in the recent decades. So this is an immense challenge that we have. We have specific areas in which to work during this week, and I wish you all a very fruitful conference and a very fruitful results of all that's dealt with in this House of the Merchants, but with the institutions that have the obligation to bring the conclusions to the policy tables to implement it, therefore. Thank you very much.
Gracias, señor Florensa. Sin duda, desde que empezamos MedaWeek, ya hace 17 años, y cuando la primera vez propusimos al IMED colaborar, ha estado con nosotros. Yo creo que sin la Cámara y sin el IMED hubiera sido muy difícil llegar hoy a estas ediciones de MedaWeek. Bueno, teníamos ahora la intervención del señor Pere Navarro, que es el delegado especial de la Zona Franca de Barcelona, pero la intervención será online, creo.
Hola, muy buenos días, presidente, director, autoridades. Permítanme que me disculpe por no estar presente aquí. Estoy fuera de Barcelona en este momento, pero sí que quería saludar especialmente esta inauguración de otro MedaWeek. Otro MedaWeek que tiene que servir para ponernos otra vez de acuerdo en cuáles son los retos, en cuáles son las soluciones, de qué manera afecta el progreso y el desarrollo económico y la actividad económica al conjunto de los pueblos que miran al Mediterráneo, a orillas del Mediterráneo. Pero permítame, en primer lugar, que destaque, desgraciadamente, una situación que está ocurriendo en el este de nuestro mar Mediterráneo, que es una situación bélica que deseamos que finalmente pueda acabar y que ya está costando demasiadas vidas humanas y demasiadas desgracias. Frente a esto, nosotros lo que defendemos como entidad, y saludo a todas las personas que forman parte de ASCAME, lo que defendemos es justamente lo contrario, es que el mar Mediterráneo sea un mar de intercambio cultural, sea un mar de intercambio económico, sea un mar en el que el comercio signifique justamente que estamos trabajando en el mismo sentido. Nosotros, en el Consorcio de la Zona Franca, lo que hacemos es justamente esto. Estamos intentando desarrollar todo aquello que significa no solo el futuro, sino ya el presente, todo lo que significa las nuevas tecnologías, todo lo que significa la industria 4.0, lo que significa también la logística. Acabamos de celebrar en el mes de junio el Salón Internacional de la Logística, el 25 aniversario, que ha reivindicado una vez más que la logística es algo que siempre funciona en nuestro mundo, y la logística es algo que nos acerca los unos a los otros. ¿Para qué? Para que podamos desarrollar estas actividades económicas, estas actividades comerciales también. Nosotros tenemos ya una incubadora logística 4.0 en nuestra sede corporativa del Consorcio de la Zona Franca. Tenemos ya 30 empresas que se están incubando en esta incubadora gracias a un programa europeo a través de la Fundación INCIDE de las Cámaras de Comercio de España, y que son empresas que se dedican a temas tan diversos como la aplicación de la Big Data, por ejemplo, en el comercio electrónico, en el reparto de la última milla, o la aplicación de los drones para poder también hacer este reparto, incluso de mercancías que están en lugares a los que es difícil llegar, pero también estamos hablando de inteligencia artificial, estamos hablando de nuevas formas de movilidad en espacios, sobre todo en ámbitos metropolitanos, que son ya muy difíciles en cuanto a la movilidad, pero que requieren una movilidad más sostenible, una movilidad que sea respetuosa con todos los actores que están interaccionando en nuestras ciudades. Estamos también continuando con nuestra labor de la incubadora de impresión 3D, que es una nueva forma de fabricar y en la que en los 4 años que lleva funcionando se han incubado ya más de 100 empresas. Y finalmente, el D-Factory, que es un edificio arquitectónicamente singular, pero que también es singular lo que ocurre en su interior. Y es que las 30 empresas que están trabajando aquí lo hacen en tecnologías de la industria 4.0, que son sensórica, robótica, inteligencia artificial, Internet de las cosas, impresión 3D, etcétera, etcétera. Y estamos a punto ya de iniciar la segunda fase. Este primer edificio tiene 17.000 metros cuadrados y todo el conjunto del D-Factory muy pronto tendrá alrededor de unos 100.000 metros cuadrados. ¿Por qué comento todo esto? Porque esto justamente contrasta con lo que estamos viendo hoy en las noticias, desgraciadamente. Todo esto contrasta con todos aquellos movimientos que son movimientos intransigentes, que son movimientos violentos, y nosotros lo que hacemos justamente es defender el acuerdo, nosotros justamente lo que hacemos es defender el diálogo, y lo que hacemos es defender el progreso, y que este progreso económico, industrial, cultural, incluso de relaciones, comercial, llegue a todo el mundo y que todo el mundo tenga las mismas oportunidades. Solo así construiremos un mar Mediterráneo que defendemos, el mar Mediterráneo de la relación, el mar Mediterráneo de las comunicaciones, el mar Mediterráneo, en definitiva, que es la cuna de muchas culturas que hoy forman parte de nuestra historia. Así que les deseo mucha suerte y muchos aciertos durante este MedaWeek. Un saludo.
Gracias, señor Pere Navarro. También desde ASCAME agradecer la apuesta que ha hecho el Consorcio de Zona Franca por MedaWeek y su colaboración estrecha con ASCAME y con la Cámara, y mencionar que yo creo que la Zona Franca de Barcelona sí que está haciendo el cambio, este cambio de las zonas francas del futuro, y sin lugar a duda el acierto de Pere Navarro y de la directora Blanca Soriller en el The Factory y la transformación del concepto industrial va a ser una referencia para toda la región mediterránea. El próximo es Mr. Ghassan Aidi, IHRA President.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Aidi Ghassan Aidi, and I'm the president of the International Hotels and Restaurant Association. We are very old. We were founded in 1859. We are 160 years old. And our object was founded by our grandfather, the hotelier, to protect the private sector in hospitality worldwide. Because we do consider that our industry, the hospitality industry, is the leader in the world with the other industry, is leading the other industry. And our hoteliers are leaders too. That's why we need to protect them. And the best way is not to fight the public sector, is to work together with the public sector. We can help the public sector, orient the public sector, and together we can create something. We represent roughly 500,000 hotels worldwide in 116 countries, and 8 million restaurants. Now, don't think that the restaurant is one single. McDonald's is 3,000. That's why we have 8 million restaurants. We work in subjects that interest our industry. 5 years ago, we started with the United Nations, who did ask us to define the criteria for sustainable development. We are the only hospitality company who helped the United Nations to define the criteria for sustainable development and to classify hotels in 3 categories. We called it Emerald Hotel. 1 Emerald, 2 Emerald, 3 Emerald as the classification. Those are very important things for the last 5 years. And since last year, we have a new subject that we are working on, cybersecurity. I don't know if you are aware, some of you, about it, but cybersecurity now, it's our motto, because before they were handling companies, corporations, now they are attacking the hospitality sector. Because it's money behind it. You heard about MGM. MGM, one of the largest hotels in casino in Las Vegas, a few months ago, they got a cyber attack. And they stole all the names of clients, their bank account, their credit card, and all the issue. It did cost MGM $120 million. That's what they say. We don't know the truth, how much it did cost them. Now they are attacking all the hotels worldwide. Only one chain of hotels got knowing about it. It's Accor. And immediately they start to take protection against the cyber attack. And the worst part of the cyber attack, we are getting attacked by our hotels too. Because if you have a major hotel in a city who has a corporate account and next to it a small hotel, no corporate account, he pay money for cyber people to attack him and to get his customer and see how much they are paying for their corporate rate. Then he can go see them, offering them few bucks less and telling them come there. then it's not only thieves who's attacking us, it's our main hotels too. That's why if I have a hotelier in this room, I do hope and I praise you to take this issue seriously. First, try to find out if you are under attack. You can know from now small items they can show you if you are fragile or not. And if you are, try to protect yourself because this is the future attack. That's all. I am here today. It's my 10th birthday with ASCAME. The first time ASCAME invited me was 2013. And I was surprised to be invited as a hotelier, not from a hotel association, but from a union of Chamber of Commerce. But Mr. Zibaoui believed very strongly in our hospitality sector. And for the last 10 years, we worked hand by hand with the hospitality sector at ASCAME. And I do congratulate you. I do sincerely congratulate you because you have a very, very, very successful association. And I thank Barcelona Chamber of Commerce of helping you and assisting you. Thank you very much.
Gracias, señor Aidi. Sin duda, Hassan Aidi es una de las grandes referencias del sector hotelero mundial y ha sido un honor para nosotros contar con la colaboración y la cooperación de IHRA y de su filial mediterránea en MedaWeek, esta edición y las anteriores. And now, Mr. Abdelillah Belatik, Secretary General of Zibaoui. Zibaoui es la Asociación Mundial de Banca Islámica.
Thank you, Mr. Anwar. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa salam ala Mawlana Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Excellencies, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning to all of you. It's an honor to stand before you today. I am grateful for the opportunity to discuss the significant role of Islamic finance in the Mediterranean region during this prestigious MedaWeek. But to start, let me thank our colleagues and friends from ASCAME and the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce for the long-term partnership with Zibaoui. And we congratulate the new board of the Chamber of Commerce of Barcelona. Our organization, Zibaoui, represents 137 Islamic banks and financial institutions from 37 countries, from the Mediterranean region and beyond. And we are glad to be here today in this very nice city of Barcelona. The Mediterranean region, with its strategic geopolitical position and diverse economies, plays a pivotal role in the global financial landscape. It serves as a crucial link between Europe and Africa and Asia, not just geographically, but also economically. The region's financial markets, though varied in development, offer unique investment opportunities and increasingly becoming integral to global trade and investment strategies. This has positioned the Mediterranean as a crucial area for financial innovation and growth, particularly in the realm of Islamic finance. Indeed, over the past decade, the Mediterranean region has experienced remarkable growth in Islamic finance. As of 2022, the market size of Islamic finance in this area is estimated to exceed $144 billion, demonstrating a robust annual growth rate of approximately 20%. This growth attests to the increasing acceptance of the integration of Islamic finance principles, which emphasize risk-sharing, ethical investing, and financial inclusion. Similarly, the number of institutions offering Islamic financial services in the region now surpass 60 Islamic financial institution banks, including full-fledged Islamic banks and windows. This proliferation has contributed to the rise of the share of Islamic banking in banking assets across the Mediterranean economies, offering Islamic banking services to average over 6.5% in the region. Islamic finance, of course, with these inherent core principles of ethical investing, risk sharing, and asset backing, naturally aligns with the objectives of sustainable and inclusive growth by prioritizing investment in socially responsible and environmentally sustainable projects. Islamic finance contributes significantly to the achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Moreover, its emphasis on financial inclusion makes it a powerful tool for addressing economic disparities within our societies, ensuring that growth is not only robust, but also equitable. Islamic finance has been a catalyst for economic developments in the Mediterranean by focusing on sectors crucial for regional development, such as infrastructure, renewable energy, small and medium-sized enterprises. It has played a pivotal role in driving sustainable economic growth. For instance, many recent projects in the region, Islamic finance has contributed to the development of major infrastructure projects, and it stands as a testament to this contribution. Various projects in particular on financing for SMEs and sukuk for infrastructure projects. We can cite a number of them, some initiatives from Egypt in February 2023, or Turkey, which has also issued recently, a few months ago, $2.5 billion US of sukuk. Morocco also has a great opportunity in terms of green sukuk for renewable energies. Libya, sukuk impact on economic development in Jordan is also very important, and we see the country tap significantly into this market. So I would encourage, all of you to ask perhaps more how Islamic finance can support SMEs and your companies. But these opportunities, of course, do not come without challenges. Despite this impressive growth, the Islamic finance sector in the Mediterranean faces still a number of challenges because of various different levels of development across the countries. Within these challenges, the significant opportunities, the current global economic landscape with digital transformation and shift towards sustainable financing makes it very important and a great opportunity for Islamic finance to tap into this important market and region. So to conclude, the landscape of Islamic finance in the Mediterranean is one of vibrant growth, significant impact on economic development, and immense potential. We encourage you, therefore, to reach out to Islamic banks in your jurisdictions. As I said, there are over 60 in the different countries in here. There is still some countries where we hope that there will be Islamic banks in the future. So we encourage you to reach out to Islamic banks in those jurisdictions. They are ready to support your sustainable development journey. Thank you, and wishing you a rich MedaWeek Barcelona.
Thank you, Abdelillah. Y sin duda agradecer a Zibaoui su apuesta también de colaborar en ASCAME y promocionar las finanzas islámicas en toda la región mediterránea, que sin lugar a duda es uno de los sectores financieros de más crecimiento a nivel mundial. Y mañana veremos en el foro la 7ª edición, las oportunidades para las empresas de la región. Ahora toca la palabra al señor Abdelkader El Kisasi, que es secretario general adjunto de Desarrollo Económico de la Unión por el Mediterráneo.
Buen día, buenos días, good morning, bonjour, assalamu alaikum, shalom. In principle, I was going to read the speech prepared by the colleagues, which is focused on the thematics of the agenda of today. But the challenges we are facing today are more important. The situation actually in Gaza, after the situation in Ukraine, is impacting our works, our lives, and our agendas. I said Assalamu alaikum and Shalom. Both means peace. And now the situation is so far from peace. Every day we are losing lives. Every day we are losing civilians who are victims of this unjustified war. I congratulate, of course, ASCAME for this rich agenda, for these fruitful discussions, for all what we are doing together. But in the same time, we are losing participants who came usually from this region, from the world, who participated with us in our agendas. In the UFM, we were celebrating this year the 15 years of the UFM, the 15 years of this positive agenda. How we can speak with our population to deal with challenges related to job, to equality, to climate change, to all these thematics which are very important for all of us, if we don't have peace, if we don't have stability and prosperity. Together we meet regularly in these frameworks, and we discuss about peace, about these challenges. But the priority of the priorities now is peace, in my opinion. In 12 days, we are going to organize our regional forum. We had several discussions about postponing or canceling the regional forum, but the co-presidency of the UFM decided to organize with Spain, with the government of Spain, who insisted to organize this forum this year, but the only thematic which we will have in the agenda will be the situation in Gaza. Today, 2 years or 3 years ago, we faced together the pandemic of COVID-19. We view how it was impacting all of us. Despite our origins, despite our religions, we were all as humans impacted by the COVID-19. And now we are killing each other. So I think that we should continue during these 3 days these discussions on these important challenges, because the population in other regions are waiting for jobs, are waiting for actions regarding the climate change, which is impacting our Mediterranean region. We saw how in Darna we had this chaotic situation recently. We saw how in Morocco we had this earthquake, and we were together able to deliver some actions, and we were all affected. But now we have 12 days to attend this regional forum here in Barcelona, which is symbol of peace and with dialogue between the Mediterranean two shores. So actually, I think also we should continue on the discussions regarding the thematics prepared by our colleagues here in ASCAME, but also we should thank to our colleagues who are not with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdelkader. Sin duda, tanto hoy MedaWeek como el foro regional que va a reunir a los ministros de Asuntos Exteriores de la Unión por el Mediterráneo, es decir, de los 43 países que compone la Unión, los 27 de la Unión Europea y los vecinos del Mediterráneo, tanto hoy como este foro, son la respuesta que queremos dar de lo que tiene que ser nuestro Mediterráneo, es decir, un mar de diálogo, un mar de cooperación, un mar de progreso y desarrollo. Y ya para finalizar la sesión oficial de apertura de MedaWeek, el señor Miquel Royo, secretario de Acció Exterior de la Generalitat de Catalunya.
Molt bon dia a tothom. First of all, on behalf of the Catalan government, I do want to welcome you to Catalonia and offer you a warm welcome to our country, and thank you for joining us in what I'm sure will be another excellent edition, and we're proud to host you here in Barcelona and Catalonia for another edition. I want to be very brief, as I acknowledge we are way over schedule, and the keynote addresses that will come after me will be, I'm sure, far more interesting than what I have to say, but I have to take this opportunity to acknowledge, first and foremost, the effort taken by partners, ASCAME, La Cambra, IEMED, the Union for the Mediterranean, all the institutions here present, to making sure that this event could happen for the 17th time. When we were looking at the program for this year's MedaWeek, we saw that the Women's Mediterranean Entrepreneur Forum had a theme, which was inspiring positive change. And I think this is something that really resonated with us, not only for that forum specifically, which will have the presence also of the Catalan Minister for Economy, but when we look at the action that the Catalan government does at the Mediterranean. Our main challenge and objective is to promote this inspiring and positive forces in our Mediterranean outreach and policies. And maybe this is perhaps more evident today than it's been before. We've heard it here today a few times, and we can't escape the fact that these are in fact dark times in the Mediterranean. However, acknowledging the complexities that we face and that we are aware that are here, we have to build a better future, and if we want to build a better future and a future of peace, we must build it on a foundation of improved mutual understanding and a shared vision of goals and objectives. And this is where I believe that events like the one today play a fundamental role, ensuring that we continue building this interconnected Mediterranean at all levels. And here, Catalonia's strategic location in the southern Europe offers us, we believe, a unique opportunity to become one of the leading force in shaping this future of the Mediterranean. A unique positioning, together with a vibrant ecosystem of research centers, networks, associations, institutions, make of Catalonia and Barcelona a real Mediterranean hub, driving initiatives not only to foster, but actively propel regional dialogue, integration, and collaboration at all levels. This interconnected ecosystem forges powerful alliances in the Mediterranean, as we can see here today. I think this is a prime example, but it solidifies our role together with our many partners and as a transformative force in the region. And in turn, it helps us ensure a positive and influential impact along the broader Euro-Mediterranean landscape. And as a testament to this vision, I want to underscore very quickly and very briefly our dedication to a multilateral and decentralized approach through the Mediterranean macro-region, which is a proposal that we are working together with many regions throughout the Mediterranean. This initiative, whose objective is to enhance the integration of the Euro-Mediterranean area and address very specific needs in different territories that will help us ultimately make a very meaningful impact on the lives of citizens, bypassing possible political vetoes and looking at how we can work on common specific challenges that we face. It's a tool that can help us bring about positive changes and transformation to the region. Furthermore, the government of Catalonia believes that addressing these global challenges and international competition requires the development of intelligent and sustainable growth. And here, the Mediterranean macro-region can become this powerful collaborative platform spanning all shores of the region. In line with this commitment, therefore, Catalonia will be hosting next week, together with the many Mediterranean events that we've heard here before and that we will see in the coming days, the Mediterranean macro-region on the summit on the 24th of November. And here we have already the support and participation of the European Commission, the European Parliament, the Committee of the Regions, and many regional partners from countries such as Spain, France, Morocco, Italy, Greece, etc. In closing, very quickly, thank you so much for your patience, and I just want to express my deep gratitude to our partners and all of you here for joining us and participating in this week. I wish you all a very fruitful meeting, and thank you so much for being here today. Thank you.
Bueno, gracias, señor Royo. Sin lugar a duda, desde ASCAME felicitar al Gobierno de Cataluña, a la Generalitat, por esta apuesta decidida, clara por la región mediterránea. Son pocos los gobiernos que han hecho esta apuesta a través de un plan estratégico, a través de propuestas concretas, a través de la creación de un plan de la gran región mediterránea. Sí, felicitar desde el sector privado mediterráneo la Generalitat de Cataluña esta apuesta. Teníamos previsto la intervención del ministro de Comercio e Industria de Egipto, pero estamos teniendo problemas de conexión con Egipto, con lo cual no lo vamos a hacer. Entonces, vamos a seguir ahora el acto, porque este año, como novedad en MedaWeek, hemos introducido que en esta sesión inaugural hablemos del Mediterráneo de hoy y enfocamos cuáles han sido los problemas de este año y hablar del Mediterráneo del futuro y qué es lo que tiene que ser nuestra apuesta. Lo que pasa antes, quiero llamar a los representantes a hacer una foto oficial y luego seguiremos el acto con la intervención de los dos keynote speech sobre el Mediterráneo Today Focusing on Climate Change. Señor Alwaquil, señor Santa Creu, Senem Florenza, Heidi, Abdelkader, Abdelilah, Mr. Rollo. Bueno, y seguimos este acto. Agradecer a la Unión por el Mediterráneo su doble participación hoy. Y sin más, llamo y para enfocar el impacto del cambio climático en la región mediterránea después de los terremotos e inundaciones que hemos sufrido, vamos a escuchar hoy dos intervenciones importantes, una desde la óptica de la Unión por el Mediterráneo y otra desde la óptica de la Generalitat de Cataluña. Sin más, llamo al Mr. Geramenos Mastorjani, Deputy General Secretary, Energy and Climate Action, UFM.
Buenos días, gracias. Si pueden poner los slides. Perfecto. Buenos días. Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It was mentioned in the opening intervention that the Mediterranean needs a comprehensive plan. We think we have it. We have talked into it the political level. Now we need the real world to join. The real world is finance, industry, commerce. In other words, it's you. And this is why we consider this appointment so important. I will talk very much in the lines underlined by my colleague Abdelkader. My presentation is about peace, but it is also about commerce. It's also about finance. It's also about industry, although at the beginning you might think that I'm taking it from very far away. Sorry, I don't know how to. The slide does not advance. Yeah, in any case, I have some good news for you. You are sitting in the middle of possibly the worst geostrategic bomb connected with climate change. Instinctively, we tend to place this kind of situations far away from us, maybe in the Sahel, maybe in Asia. But the fact is that the stakes of stability are very high here, and they are a regional problem, but they are also a global problem because the interests of 3 continents converge on our region. You're sitting in the middle of the second fastest warming region in the world, after the Arctic, and with a sea, the Mediterranean Sea, which is the fastest warming globally. Associated with 2 measurements, there are threatening predicted impacts, and it would take me a whole day just to list them. Let me just mention 2 examples to give you an idea. 250 million people in water scarcity within 10, 15 years. And with the sea, which is the fastest warming, we also have the fastest rising sea. It's thermic dilatation. Above 1 meter before the end of the century, but 1 meter seems, about the end of the century seems so far away from us. Just 20 centimeters in 10, 15 years. If we visualize them, nobody is really scared with 20 centimeters because we think about water covering lands. Maybe we bring our thoughts to fragile coastal cities like Alexandria or Venice and how they're threatened, but that's not the problem. You know, I work for the Union of the Mediterranean, but I am Italian. And my ancestors, the Romans, had a certain wisdom, most of which was a wicked wisdom. They said that if you want to dominate someone, you should win them in war. But if you want never to hear about them again, you should spread salt on their fields. So we're talking about salty water entering the coastal plains of our sea, where 42% of the agricultural production is concentrated, with some very delicate spots, the delta of the rivers. And we can think about the delta of the Nile. 20 centimeters sea level rise is enough to salinize the delta of the Nile, jeopardizing the food security of a country that has 120 million inhabitants. I think it's not rocket science to think about what the consequences of this would be. But even if I listed you all those threatening possible impacts, we wouldn't get the core problem. The core problem is that, and again, I find it hard to advance the slide. Can you please forward it one more? Can you please advance this one slide? Because it's not working. Okay, and now I have to go back. All right. And I have to go back a lot. Okay. The fact is that we're not sitting in any region. We are sitting in a region which was blessed with something very, very special. Wow. Okay. If I sent a TV crew in the street to ask people what is the most important revolution in history, probably we would hear the French Revolution or the Industrial Revolution. But people tend to forget that there has been a revolution which was much more important long time ago. Roughly 10,000 years ago, with the end of the Ice Age, we had the Agricultural Revolution. And the Agricultural Revolution was the moment in which mankind switched from passive users of the ecosystem to managers of the ecosystem. And it happened here. Not because here people were smarter, but because here the perfect conditions were there to start planning. The fact that we all share this large mass of water, which is not oceanic, means that it stabilizes the climate and it makes it sweet. Stabilizes means that the behavior of climate is predictable. And you can only think about, for instance, having agriculture if you know when it's going to rain. If you don't know, you cannot think about planning. Now, this fantastic function of the Mediterranean that accompanied us throughout centuries and that allowed the birth of incredible civilizations here is being inverted. A sea that is accumulating so much energy is shifting from an engine of stabilization to an engine of chaos. It transmits the heat to the atmosphere, and things we have started to see this year are going to happen. We don't know when it rains, we don't know when it snows, we don't know when it's hot. So no agriculture, not even, I mean, it's not only a problem of agriculture. If I were the manager of water distribution in New York, I wouldn't be able to plan it if I haven't the slightest idea of when the Appalachians would be covered with snow. And this is one main problem. The second main problem, let's hope it works, is that this very precious climate unified us. In the slide before, I was saying, Europe, what a weird idea. I mean, if you apply the criteria through which we have singled out other continents, to us, we should not exist. Our name should be Western Asia, but we consider ourselves a continent. We have indeed something in common, but it's not qualified by geographical barriers. The same applies to North Africa, which is Africa but not Africa. Why? We are very much interrelated. We think we are different, but we look alike. I know that among my ancestors there are many Phoenicians. So we are the same family. But what unifies us? What makes us so different and particular? Already Montesquieu understood it, and he proposed the climate theory. We are what we are because we benefited this very special climate. But this very special climate that unified us, now changing, is going to divide us. One pillar of this special climate was that the good season was governed by the arrival of the Azores anticyclone that covered the whole of our area. Now the Azores anticyclones is being elbowed out by African anticyclones. They are drier, but the real problem is not that there is less water. The real problem is that it divides our area in two. And if policy does not perceive that this makes our interests shift apart, Houston, we have a problem. Together with divisive trends, we also have new unifying trends, and these are the core of the plan that we are proposing to you. It seems a little bit abstract and scientific, but let me give you a demonstration. We are the second fastest warming region in the world, but there is one which is warming even faster, which is the Arctic. Lots of problems for them too, but some potential too. One of them is the opening of new maritime routes, the mythical Northwest Passage above Alaska and the Northeast Passage above Siberia. If our friends from the north get some benefits also, of course we are happy. But it is also true that if the Northeast Passage becomes really navigable, the Suez Canal is worth nothing. And the Mediterranean Sea, as the sea of passage of 25% of maritime commerce, is not there anymore. And I could go on listing divisive trends. But the good news is that we also have unifying trends. I know that this slide is totally incomprehensible. It relates to forestry and agriculture. In this sector, without the intervention of governments, spontaneously in the last 10 years, we have witnessed enhanced cooperation between the North and the South. There are many reasons, ecological awareness, but one is very concrete. We are cooperating because in the sector there is awareness that the phytogenetic heritage, I'm talking about plants and things, which is viable and commercial now on the southern shore of the Mediterranean, is the one that will save our agricultures and therefore economies in 10, 15 years' time. So we have to cooperate. Now, the situation is there. If we don't put all this under control, it will become an engine of conflict. But if we think about it in another way, it can be turned into an opportunity. But the situation is dangerous also because our area has another problem, which was very much explored by the division led by my colleague Abdelkader. It is a highly asymmetric area. Just to give you an example, in our region, international commerce occurs 90% among North Shore states, 9% between the North and the South, 0.9% among South Shore states. It talks about a sea where there are the rich and the poor, the strong and the fragile. So if the same projected impacts arrived on a region which is uniform, it would be dangerous, it would be terrible, but there would be not so much geostrategic danger. On our region, the two things, terrible climate impacts, overlapping a lot of inequality, is the perfect recipe for geostrategic destabilization. But my job is not Nostradamus. I'm not here to forecast a gloomy future for the Mediterranean. On the contrary, these huge problems can be turned into a solution if only you, the real world, involve with it. Not only, we are also at the point of convergence of the present largest geostrategic threat and of the future one. This is the official United Nations version of some slides that I'm going to, which are clear, that I'm going to project to you. This is the northern part of Africa, mainly composed of deserts. The desert is not a generous ecosystem, but some populations adapted to live into it. Except that today we don't only have the desert, we also have an active zone. It's the era of desertification. If you put on the plates of the scale objectively the generosity of the ecosystem in the two areas, the desertification zone is still more generous than the desert. But this is the area of some uncertainty. It's the area in which what is happening now to the Mediterranean is already happening. They don't know when it rains. It's not that it rains less. They just don't know when it rains. You see where it's placed, and you can easily see that it overlaps with the area of concentration of hunger and conflicts, the area of concentration of terrorist dynamics, illegal trafficking of all sorts. And this is where 9 out of 10 of those that we call migrants, but which are forced population movements, come. And they look towards us. They don't look south. They look up north. At the same time, we are neighboring the area where the worst possible geostrategic bomb is conceived. I'm showing you the band of glaciers of Himalaya in the Kush and Pamir. With preceding global warming, at a certain point, these glaciers will collapse. And we might feel, well, we are so sorry, but it's so far away from us. And then we forget, for instance, that the Roman Empire crumbled not only for internal problems, but also for the arrival of some populations that we generically dubbed the barbarians, but which at the origins were forced population movements induced by a climate fluctuation which is simply ridiculous compared with what is expecting us. Well, at a certain day, these glaciers will collapse. It is a problem for mountain people who rely on the ecosystem for their productions, but it is a huge problem for the valleys. Glaciers have many functions. One is crucial for mankind, the other regulators of an orderly outflow of water towards the valleys. In this region to the south, we have a monsonic climate. It means a very dry season that alternates with a very wet season. The glaciers store excess humidity from the rainy season and release it gradually during the dry season to a system of rivers that irrigate plains where 1.4 billion people live. Well, if the glaciers collapse, in the valleys they will have to face an unmanageable alternance of floods and droughts. It is now a commonplace to explain the Second World War not with the lunacy of one or the other dictator, but with the discomfort of the middle classes who were submitted to the effects of the 1929 crisis. Well, let us put it on the scale. The loss of the value of savings induced the German middle class, for instance, not the only ones, into voting to Hitler. It's 20 million people who lost the value of their savings. Here we have a forecasted 450 million people who will lose water, rice, roads in an area in which 4 states, India, China, Pakistan, and Russia, have nuclear bombs. Again, Houston, we have a problem, but my job is not Nostradamus. The thing is that this terrible scenario, if we think we should do something about it, transforms into a huge opportunity for a new cycle of global growth. We've always perceived climate change as a depressive factor towards economy. We think, we need to take care of something so our costs will go higher, so we will become less competitive. That's not the case. We have here a huge opportunity for many reasons. Of course, I don't have the time to go through them all. But in our region, as Union for the Mediterranean, we have identified one solution, which is based on science, not on ideology. Science tells us one thing. Around the Mediterranean, there are the rich and the poor, but not one of them, not even the richest, has enough resources on its own to face a change of this scale and pace. But if we put together those differences that made us enemies during centuries, actually what we have is a larger basket of solutions. Let me give you a few examples. The European Union wants to decarbonize by 2050. It's quantitatively impossible if we do not rely on the solar power of the southern shore and on the wind power of the Balkans. In turn, these sectors cannot develop. They would not have enough finance if they only relied on internal markets. We have already seen what is happening with agriculture. If, for instance, you are into the wine sector, you know how fast we need to put together our forces to keep producing wine. And there is one sector which is maybe felt as symbolic, but for me is absolutely fundamental. There is one chapter of climate negotiations where I'm going to next week, which is very tense. It's called technology transfer. It is tense because it's conceived as the generous gift of the beautiful, rich, and happy towards those who are not. Let us be sincere. But what is technology? Technology is know-how. In 10 years' time, Catalonia's land, Sicily's land, Sardinia's land will have exactly the same climate that North Africa has managed during 5,000 years. Who has the knowledge? Who has the crops? Not us, it's them. Just as a symbol, in this slide you see the solar panels. Maybe we're a little bit more advanced in producing solar panels here, but there is also a building. It's one of the many possible examples, which is cone-shaped. You find those buildings along the Silk Road. It's called yakchal, which in Persian literally means a fridge. It works like this. Even if outside is 55 degrees, inside the temperature is always between 0 and -4. It was used by merchants to deposit perishable goods. And electricity expenditure is 0. Who needs who? This is our recipe. If we really get the economic world into making these potentials of interconnection, which was before barred by political division, true, while we will tackle climate change as a side gift, we will do something else. The macroeconomic side effects of such an approach are that the asymmetry I talked to you about will be rebalanced. So while we do the right thing to tackle climate change, we will also achieve what we never achieved in the sea of civilization, but which was never a sea of peace. We are building the true foundations of peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mastrojani. Sin lugar a duda, la lucha para enfrentarnos al cambio climático no solamente es una responsabilidad de gobiernos, sino es una responsabilidad de todos. Sin la participación en esta lucha del sector privado va a ser imposible avanzar. Por esto, desde ASCAME, os avanzo que vamos a lanzar una propuesta, una estrategia para un nuevo plan regional para el cambio climático, en lo cual tanto el sector privado como el sector público, los gobiernos, la sociedad civil, las universidades, vamos a intentar trabajar juntos para lanzar propuestas, iniciativas que ayuden a la región a enfrentarse a este gran problema y esta gran tragedia que se está planeando. Bueno, la próxima participación es la Mireia Boya, la directora general, General Director of Environmental Quality and Climate Change, Catalan Government.
Bé, bon dia a tothom i benvinguts a Catalunya. Creo que la introducción que el ponente anterior ha hecho ha ayudado a enmarcar qué contexto tenemos en el Mediterráneo y cuáles son los retos más importantes. Yo hablaré más de las políticas que estamos haciendo en Cataluña para hacer frente al cambio climático, conscientes de que es el mayor reto que tenemos en el Mediterráneo en el futuro. El contexto actual es en Cataluña de una sequía que nos ha llevado a declarar la emergencia en unos días. Importantes restricciones para el consumo de agua de las empresas del sector productivo agrícola y ramadero e incluso para la población civil. Estas restricciones tendrán consecuencias también en los sectores económicos. Las industrias tendrán que reducir su consumo de agua. El sector turístico tendrá que reducir el consumo de agua. Y no es porque queramos, son medidas de ahorro de agua absolutamente imprescindibles. Solo tenemos el 18% de las reservas y las previsiones de lluvia en los próximos meses en Cataluña no son, digamos, esperanzadoras. Hemos llegado aquí por dos motivos. El primero no lo controlamos nosotros, es el cambio climático, que es el objeto de esta ponencia inicial. Pero el segundo es un modelo de desarrollo económico que no ha pensado suficientemente dónde vivimos y cuál es la escasez de los recursos que tenemos en el Mediterráneo. Esta situación que tiene actualmente Cataluña es común a la de otros países, a la de otras regiones de clima mediterráneo. Seguro que muchos de los que están aquí hoy piensan en sus países y saben perfectamente lo importante que es el agua para el progreso económico y para la vida. Desde Cataluña, lo que llevamos haciendo desde el 2017, cuando aprobamos nuestra ley de cambio climático, es intentar adaptarnos a los efectos del cambio climático, porque algunos ya son presentes y ya son irreversibles y, por lo tanto, solo podemos adaptarnos para seguir viviendo, produciendo, y cómo mitigar los gases de efecto invernadero atendiendo a los compromisos internacionales de la Unión Europea, los acuerdos de París y todo el programa Fit for 55 de la Unión Europea, al cual Cataluña se ha adherido. Relativo a la adaptación, hace un año, un poco menos de un año, Cataluña aprobó la Estrategia Catalana de Adaptación al Cambio Climático, que incluye 312 medidas en 17 ámbitos, distribuidos también por territorios. Diferenciamos lo que es el litoral, la montaña del interior. Y esta estrategia analiza la vulnerabilidad que tienen todos estos ámbitos, algunos de ellos económicos, y los riesgos asociados. Y les voy a dar algún ejemplo para que lo entiendan un poco mejor. En el ámbito financiero, por ejemplo, estamos viendo que la mayor recurrencia de fenómenos meteorológicos extremos, olas de calor, inundaciones, incendios, que son comunes a todo el Mediterráneo, están provocando que el sector de los seguros, ¿no?, financiero de los seguros, no se haya adaptado a cubrir las pérdidas en las empresas o incluso en la ciudadanía. Hemos identificado las medidas, el trabajo que hay que hacer para que el sector de los seguros acompañe a las empresas en esta adaptación al cambio climático y a esta recurrencia de los fenómenos extremos. Pero si hablamos, por ejemplo, de las fábricas, de las industrias, si aumenta la temperatura, cambian los procesos de producción, cambian los procesos químicos. Hay más vulnerabilidad por posible pérdida de lugares de trabajo. Hemos identificado que también la empresa privada tiene que hacer su proceso de adaptación con esta previsión de que las temperaturas van en aumento y aquí en Cataluña cada vez tendremos más noches tropicales. Este año ya ha sido el récord, el año pasado fue el récord y lo vamos superando año a año. En la parte de mitigación, de reducción de las emisiones de gases efecto invernadero, estamos en plena elaboración de lo que llamamos Plan Integrado Energía y Clima. El Estado español ha hecho ya el suyo, está a punto de aprobarlo y Cataluña no quería quedarse atrás y lo que estamos haciendo es cuánto tenemos que reducir sector por sector, desde el público, desde el sector residuos, las industrias, el sector de los transportes, cuánto tenemos que reducir para cumplir los acuerdos internacionales, ¿no?, estos acuerdos de París, cómo tenemos que hacerlo. Presentaremos este plan a mediados del 2024 y lo que queremos es el diálogo, el consenso con todos los sectores económicos para que, siendo conscientes de la gravedad de la situación y de los esfuerzos compartidos que tenemos que hacer, ver cómo tenemos que ayudarnos mutuamente, el sector público y el sector privado. Pero lo más importante es cómo financiamos todo esto. No hay ningún sector privado que, digamos, por voluntad propia altruista, esté dispuesto a hacer inversiones importantes para cambiar procesos de producción. El sector público está para ayudar al sector privado. Esto la Ley de Cambio Climático ya tenía una previsión y creó una serie de mecanismos para financiar esta adaptación y esta mitigación del cambio climático. El primero son impuestos. Tenemos uno que ya es vigente, que es el impuesto del CO2 de los vehículos contaminantes, de los coches. Este impuesto recauda alrededor de 60 millones de euros al año y que van directamente a un fondo que se creó con esta ley, que es el Fondo Climático. Los ciudadanos pagan alrededor de 7 euros al año por tener un vehículo que emite CO2 y nosotros tenemos 50 millones de euros para invertir en la adaptación al cambio climático. Esta inversión la hacemos a través de 4 líneas. La primera es los ayuntamientos, los municipios. Entendemos que el nivel local es el que puede pensar proyectos de adaptación, de mejora, por ejemplo, de la eficiencia de las canalizaciones de agua para no tener tantas pérdidas en un contexto de sequía, de creación de refugios climáticos para los ciudadanos. Este tipo de proyectos que se hacen desde abajo, desde los municipios, el Fondo Climático los está financiando con una línea de subvenciones de 80 millones